Okay, I guess I gotta say it. I love you, Mel Gibson. It talks back to me. Um, yeah, you know who, what it is. It isn't what I am. But put up a thing showing Mel Gibson, and the headliner on that, the text was "The Addiction to Jesus," and then right below it says, "I'm flawed." Okay, and so I had to laugh at that because this is when we get into perfection. I'm flawed. I make errors. I make mistakes. That whole that whole file. And so I thought, well, it's a breathing disorder, Mel Gibson. Okay, the breathing is defective, and that's called a defective title to operate. Okay, your DNA, because it's like red tagging the equipment. It's out of service. Okay, so you know what it means to put something out of service? It means you need to be repaired. Okay, and because your mind's energy is just not stable. I'm sorry, but it's just not. And if your energy is not stable, then that's called an isolate. We're going to have to isolate you, like they do in psychiatric wards and put people in rubber rooms. I've been put in one of those. Remember the guy that was my shrink? It wore a gold chain with a 10 on it out of UCLA. Is that a coincidence? No. Okay. So I know who they are and how they operate. One floor of the cuckoo's nest. See? Their mind is the one that's actually in the psychiatric prison. It's not funny. Now we're into, I think we need to swap places. Okay, you want me to play doctor and then you can be the patient? That's victimizer. That's how that experiment came to be. Want to swap polarities? No, I'm no polarity. I don't play that game. That's what it is. That's why we're here. I don't play the blame game, but it failed to achieve the desired results. Didn't it? Remember the video I did back on Rose Suite? And I said it was a failed experiment. The experiment failed. It was a failed genetic experiment. Now we're into all the genetic engineering stuff, genetic law, all those files. We could go on for a gazillion years talking about all those files, and that would just be looping all that stuff again. So you know what it means to end the end of history. The true end of history is to reset the cosmic clock. Now it doesn't matter anymore, does it? That's where zero debt comes in, because you've learned to balance your book, which is your life book, which is your life force, which is what you are in energy, which is life force energy. The electrical feed, you're experiencing first electric field, the crystal sound of light, first light, rainbows, rainbow auroras, the very first colors, primary colors. It's primary water, first water. Let the water flow. Let the water be free. The spirit that is in the water, the memory in the water. I never lost my memory of first water. They can't change the mind of first water. Liquid light consciousness, pure as pure can be. Liquid light spirit form, crystal form, form and flow. Form and flow of music. On fire to play music. And on fire to play music is on fire to learn. To play music. So the music, the radio waves are proportional to each other, which is equal in mass. Now you're experiencing no mass, and that's no weight, which is 0 degrees. That is stable energy. That's perfect energy that is stable. And that is a perfect crystal spiral that only God source can know that level of perfection of no errors. And no errors is no errors in the breathing. The breathing tones, the breathing plasma tones. To experience pre-matter. Wow. No power. You've mastered your breathing technique, the technique of breathing. And it takes practice. It's like playing music. You want to play a guitar, pick up a guitar. You want to play a drum, pick up a drum. Start playing a drum. That's why I love to be around musicians. I get lost in the musical world because that's where I'm always at. I'm playing music. Because I love to be around creative artists, extremely creative artists that are on fire to create, that play music and show you how to play music. That's real showtime. Remember Magic Johnson? The real magic is not in playing games. It's playing real musical spheres. The first sphere, the first rainbow, the first flow and form of radiation. Agua, tiwaya, water. Let the water flow. Let it naturally flow. Cools the engine. Naturally cools the engine. That's why I have to be careful. I'll be accused of you're judging that. No, but I know how to apply water with fire. I know how to balance the fire and the water. Fire and ice join together as one. So when I was watching some folks that were using their lines, and bless their heart and soul for the fact that they're using their energy to cool the base, right? And bring the energy of that field back into balance and stability again. So their nerves are experiencing being more relaxed because they were experiencing major chaos generated, right, in Los Angeles. But nevertheless, I learned how to use a hose. I learned how to use a nozzle. I had some great teachers that showed me how to use a nozzle on a fire and cool the base, the torque speed conversion, right? And do what? Create fire, steam, right? Cool the base. And there is a very mathematical relationship in the spin tones of fire and water. And so I got really good at it. 90. I had a 90 gallons of water per minute. You think it's a mathematical coincidence that there I am wearing a set of turnouts all by my lonesome on top of the roof. And here comes a fire that's burning up roughly at about 2,500 acres an hour. It was moving at what we call a pretty good clip. I call it like 1,000 freight trains. It's shrieking like metal against metal. And it's coming right at you. And there isn't anything between you and it but you. Okay. So here it was roaring down the mountain from San Bernardino. This was in November 1970, called the Big Bear Fire. And there we were on top of a ridge, just like being up in Bel Air, a ridge top. Okay. In the Bel Air Fire, remember they ran out of water. They couldn't get any water on top, so they lost all the homes on top of the ridge line. I was on a ridge line just like that. And when we got up there, we were the only engine there. Everybody else was gone. Hightailed it out of there. So the three of us, there was just three of us, an engineer and one other guy that was with us. And this is when they had open cabs. Now they have all closed cabs. And so I grabbed an 1.5 inch line and we hooked up to a hydrant. Then I went on top of the roof. And I had an old, it's not mine, but it's a trusty nozzle. It was built by Elkhart, Indiana, made out of brass. It's a heavy nozzle. I don't remember how many pounds it weighed, but yeah, that's heavy. That's heavy brass. That's an 1.5 inch line. So if you know the mechanics of water, how many gallons of water are in 100 feet of that line, add up the feet, how many feet. I think we had 300 feet out on my line, went up on top of the roof, hunched down next to a chimney, and here it comes. And it's roaring down one side of the mountain and coming up to a valley and making its way up. So our job was to protect the homes around us because we were at a point where the head of the fire was, in other words, when you're looking at a head like the perimeter of a fire, of the time and distance as curved space vectors, as this chaos is generated out of control and shrieking, it's so loud that it's deafening, absolutely deafening. And now you got all these embers. It's like machine guns spitting bullets at you, embers just coming at you like somebody with a machine gun, like a 40 millimeter cannon. And you're there with a 90 GPM nozzle, and we saved the house. That 90 GPM did it. And that's mathematics. That's torque conversion. Cool the base. So yeah, so I saw some firefighters down there in Palisades that were using a straight stream. Okay, when they might be better served when they're using a fog pattern with a better nozzle.